Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, it's Jackie Kashian. Welcome to the Dork Forest. You know the websites, JackieKashian.com, DorkForest.com. Patrick Brady's going to fix this audio. Mike Rickberg just sang. He's going to sing again at the end with his girlfriend, Sarah Cohen, very good lady. And Vilmos fixes the websites. So know in your hearts that it is November or December. And so in November and December, there's a donation button on my website and on DorkForest.com. And I usually ask for donations every episode. In November and December, I ask that you don't donate to the Dork Forest. You instead donate locally. If you were going to give me $20 or $100 or whatever you're going to give me, just donate it to your local food bank or the hurricane people or anybody. There's a lot of places, obviously, that you can, Toys for Tots, this type of thing. And it's, but if you do want to buy a Christmas gift or a solstice gift or a Hanukkah gift or an atheist gift or of t-shirts or CDs, there is the merch page on JackieKashian.com. Feel free to get any of the variety of t-shirts that I now have available. You got your Ranger logo, Ranger of the Dork Forest t-shirt, which has dorky things coming out of the forest. Everything's U.S. made, by the way, made here in this country, either by union members or non-union members, but at least not made by toddlers. I'm wearing clothes made by toddlers. I'm not above it. I'm just above selling it. So, you can get a Ranger t-shirt, which are black, or you can get a brown or green The Dork Forest t-shirt designed by Brett Chambers, which has, a D12 on it and elvish writing saying, I have found it! Because you have found the Dork Forest, really. And then my 2 CDs, Circus People. My first real CD, and it is about 40 minutes, and it has an embedded video of me doing the Dork Forest bit for my half-hour Comedy Central special without the benefit of copyright. And then my current album, which is It Is Never Going to Be Bread, which was top 10 comedy albums of the year when it came out, which was in 2010, which means I should get a new one out, but I don't have any. And as per usual, come and see me do stand-up comedy. All through November and December, I'm going to be in Arizona, and then I'm going to be a lot in Los Angeles, and then in January, I'm going to New York for a podcast festival and to do sets, and in Toronto, I'm going to go to Canada. Very exciting. Thank you so much for listening to The Dork Forest. I hope you have a good holiday season and take care of each other out there. And donate to me in January, but don't worry about it this month. Just enjoy the show, which is about to begin. Hey, it's Jackie Kashian. Welcome back to The Dork Forest. I have sitting with me Gina Yashere, who I have always said Yashere.
I know, everybody does. It's okay.
That's
why I thought, let me tell you, as soon as I come in.
It's Yashere. Yashere.
Yeah.
Pronounce the E, people. Get involved.
Exactly.
People try to ethnic up, Kashian a lot. I'm just like vacation, like vacation. No vac.
Where's it from though?
It's Armenian.
I've never heard of a vacation before.
Well, I think it was, with my grandparents fleeing the Turks. It's actually has some sort of Turkish root, and it means son of a priest, which is ironic because my people are not particularly pious. Anyway, so we've never met. You've been doing stand-up comedy since the dawn of man as well.
Yes.
And yet we have never crossed paths.
I know. I've seen you. I watched you on, was it Last Comic Standing? And I was like, who is this woman? And then I see you about on the interweb.
On the interwebs.
And that's it.
That's all. That's the only place. We've never been alive staring at each other.
In the same room. This is weird.
I was looking at your Wikipedia page today.
Oh, I've got Wikipedia. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you didn't do it.
No.
Somebody else did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somebody else put it up. But they said that you did The Tonight Show with Conan.
I did.
And then now you do it with Jay again.
I know.
Wow. You're a rebel. You're all over it.
I'm all over the money. That's what I'm all over.
Oh my God. Who doesn't need $500 for the love of Christ?
I have no loyalty. Whoever pays me, I'm there.
Well, I just did Reno, and I was in Reno and I opened for Dennis Miller. And as I had to introduce him before he came up, and I said, and Dennis Miller, and he walks up to me, he's like, you're really funny. Has Jay seen you? And I said, Jay who? Because my career, that's what I like to do. I like to really just shoot it in the foot. And then he goes, Leno. And I was like, oh God, no. He hasn't seen me.
Yeah. Why hasn't he seen you?
I have no idea.
Why don't they have women? I mean, well, I'm not going to complain because he's given me more work than most, like all the female comics that are out there.
Well, Kira Sultanovich does a lot of stuff on there too. The phone booth, I think, right?
My thing was the psychic thing in a similar kind of booth.
Oh, you do a psychic? Wait, sort of like the whole grip. Are you the lady? Are you in a booth?
Yes.
Guess who doesn't watch any late night television? Jackie Kashian.
Exactly.
Very sad.
Yeah. So basically, I did Conan as a stand-up. I just did my stand-up.
Oh,
as
good.
You do. And then Leno, when Conan was taking over the Tonight Show, and Leno was doing the Jay Leno show, which was essentially the Tonight Show after the Tonight Show.
Right.
They were looking for new comedy correspondents to come and do sketches and pieces on the show.
Okay.
And I sent in my DVD and I had a meeting with them and gave them a whole load of ideas that I'd written up in beautiful form, and they didn't like any of them.
Of course.
And the psychic was the last idea on the bottom of the sheet that I'd scribbled down in the car on the way to the meeting. And I went through all my ideas and I'm like, no, don't like that. Jay wouldn't like that. No.
Yeah, Jay's nowhere, of course, anywhere near this meeting.
Nowhere near. And then they go, you got anything else? And I was like, well, I did have an idea on the way here about a fake psychic, and they're like, we love it!
Oh,
and that was it. And I did Leno about 8 times. They just put me in a booth with hidden cameras, and I just messed about with members of the public. And it was very popular.
Very popular.
Wow.
Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want someone going, I think it's all going to work out? And, was that usually, what was your go-to with the psychic? Before we even talk about your darkdom, let's just talk about.
My go-to was just to say the stupidest, most ridiculous things I could and see if I could get away with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'd just say things like, you are female? You have 3 kids, and the kids are in the booth with her. You have 3 children. Some of them are male. And so I just to say the dumbest stuff, just to
like
see.
the most obvious.
Yeah, just ridiculous stuff.
Right. And you're like, well, my brother once signed me up to be the tea leaf reader. The coffee ground.
Right.
Okay. So it's the Armenian picnic. It's at the church. It's in Wisconsin. And, you read the coffee grounds on the bottom of espresso or something, and old Armenian ladies are supposedly good at it.
Yep.
I had just read Harry Potter, and, I knew that Trelawney, I don't know if you remember the psychic, professor in the,
I think I watched the first Harry Potter. That was it.
So you know what? They're books too. You know, there's a, what do you like to read? Let's skip right over your dorkdom and talk about, what do you enjoy? The internet?
You know what? I read, anything by Stephen King.
Oh, do you?
He's a genius.
You know, I've never read any of his books.
What?
I know it. I know.
What?
How is it possible?
How is it possible?
Where should I start?
Oh,
There's so many.
God.
Aren't there hundreds of books?
Millions. And he's written stuff you wouldn't even think he's written. Right? So he's written horror. Everybody knows he writes horror.
Yes.
Like Salem's Lot and It and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And Christine and Cujo.
Yeah, I don't want to read any of that. I'm already scared.
Oh,
I'm already scared at the horror.
It's terrifying, but brilliant and clever.
Yes.
But he's also written stuff that you'd never know he's written. Like he wrote Green Mile.
The Green Mile.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that he wrote The Stand, which was Stand By Me.
Yes.
Which was,
Stand By Me was
a novella.
Awfully good short story that was.
Yes.
It was a brilliant movie. So he wrote that.
He wrote that. I might read stuff of his that isn't scary. His son writes comic books.
Really?
And I'm sure prose. I have not read any of his prose, but his name he went by the name Joe Hill.
Oh, okay.
So that he didn't have to get the Stephen King.
Joe Hill. No, there's not. Yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah, and then once it was popular, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm Stephen King's son."
Okay.
Because he didn't want to milk it.
Yeah, I would have milked it.
Right. Exactly. As we both, I know it was. So what are your favorite Stephen King books? Are they horror ones or the other ones?
See, I loved Stand By Me. I loved The Green Mile, but my favorite stuff is horror. I started off as a kid doing fairy tales. I started off with fairy tales. Then I graduated from fairy tales to ghost stories. So I loved ghost stories.
What fairy tales are scary besides like the original Grimm stuff?
I just like fantasy stuff.
Oh, okay.
I just like stuff that's,
what did you read when you were a kid? What were your favorite kids' books?
I used to love Hans Christian Andersen stuff. I loved anything that was just...
They're going to kill children and you're going to put you out in the woods with just a Bowie knife.
Yeah,
Hope it all works out.
Love all that stuff. So I graduated from that to ghost stories. I love a ghost story.
Okay.
Anything supernatural, love it.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Most definitely.
Really?
I've seen one.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, we're hearing that story.
Yeah. And
Let's
my
do
mum's
it.
a little bit psychic as well and weird. Not weird, but she's a little bit psychic. So I definitely believe in the spiritual.
Okay, what ghost? Was it a ghost of a Civil War drummer boy?
No.
Okay, what was it a ghost of?
I was on the underground with my sister, right?
Okay.
On the underground,
tube.
which is the tube, which is the
subway.
metro subway for London. And I was about 8 years old I'll never forget this. And I was on the underground waiting for a train with my older sister. And she's 8 years older than me. So I was 8. She would have been 16.
Okay.
And there was a guy standing next to us.
Right.
And he was dressed in full Edwardian costume.
All right.
Like with the...
What time of year? It wasn't the Dickens time, was it? It wasn't.
He had the weird little curled up buckle shoes, the moustaches that did that, the long ringlet. He had the whole thing.
The whole thing, top to bottom.
Top to bottom, the whole ringlet.
And it didn't look like a costume. It looked like he owned it. Like he was in it.
Yeah, he was just standing there waiting for a train.
You were 8 years old.
I was about 8, yeah.
Do you remember what line? Was it the red line? Any idea?
I don't no
Fair
idea.
enough.
My sister was taking me somewhere. My memory's not that
child.
clear. I was a child, excited to be on the train, and then there was a man standing next to me and my sister with very funny clothes on. So I kept looking at him, and he looked over and he saw me and he just started smiling at me. So I thought, oh, he's very nice. And so I said to my sister, look at the man there with the funny clothes. And he was literally as far from me as you are right now. So he's
right.
like not a couple of
shoulder to shoulder almost.
Right. And my sister says, what man? And I go, that man standing right next to us with the funny shoes on. And my sister goes, what? Shut up. There's no man there. Stop playing stupid games. I'm like, he's right there. And he's standing there just smiling at me. And she could not see him.
Not a word. And he never said a word?
Never said a word. He just smiled.
And then when you got off the train, did he get off the train?
I don't
what
remember
happened?
after that. We got on the train. I don't think he got on the train with us.
Right.
Because I don't remember a journey of me going, look at him, he's sitting opposite us. He's on your lap.
He's with you right now. It turns out he is right here next to my coffee table.
Very odd situation.
That is an odd situation. You know, I have a very good friend who's she's really into the supernatural. She does the thing called the Supernatural Junkyard. Right. And Karen Rontowski. Have you ever met Karen Rontowski, stand-up comic?
No.
Very funny stand-up comic.
Many of us.
I know, we're all over the place. We're constantly doing comedy. She used to do, one of my favorite jokes was about how, she wanted to do a Ouija board in her apartment, but she didn't think she would ever get her security deposit back, if she opened the fourth dimension. And then it was very funny stuff. And she does some very funny ghost jokes, and, she does paranormal conventions and stuff.
Really?
But ghosts, I don't know about ghosts. I don't have a problem with there being ghosts or aliens because it feels obnoxious to think that they don't exist, right?
Of course. The earth is just a grain of sand on the beach. You
right.
really think that there is nothing else out there but us. That's kind of arrogant.
It feels a little arrogant.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of reminds me of my extended family. Okay. I know they exist, but they don't affect me. Like I'm never going to talk to my biological mother's second cousins. It's not going to happen. So there you go.
But they are around.
They do exist.
They do exist.
And they affect other people's lives.
I believe it.
There are other circles that are happening. There's more to this world than I know.
Yeah, there are other dimensions. I could talk about dimensions.
So talk to me about the paranormal though. Like do you like fiction about paranormal or do you like sort of true crimey kind of paranormal?
I like both. I love a bit of fiction, but if there's a really good ghost story that's based on factual stuff, like I've got loads of stories about the London Underground, like ghost stories.
Oh, like because there's probably books compilated about everyone running into ghosts in the underground.
Documentaries about it, and
London's old.
Huh?
London is old.
London is very old. I remember we got bombed a lot during the World War, and a lot of people died in the underground stations.
Oh, right, because that's where everybody was hiding. Because when you're being bombed, you should definitely go underground.
Exactly, so that you can be crushed by falling bricks and masonry.
Exactly,
it's very sensible.
It doesn't. And why only the children being sent away? Just you gotta suck it up. Stiff upper lip, Brits.
Girls and boys and kids down into the basement. See you at the end of it. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of stories about, like, there was a guy who worked at the Mile End tube station, which is a tube station in East London, which got a lot of bombing during the war. And he's working one night and he hears the most horrendous screaming. It's 3 a.m, the station's closed.
Right.
He hears the most horrendous screaming from thousands and thousands of or hundreds or whatever, of female and kid voices screaming.
Okay.
And he runs around the station and there's nothing there. And it turns out, obviously during the World War, Mile End Station was bombed and about
a lot of
400 or 500 women and kids
were killed. Wow.
So stories like that. Like also the managers, I can talk about ghosts all day long. So that
that might be your dorkdom. Because when you said I like gadgets, I was like, people have come to me and they said they like gadgets. And I'm like, I'm going to need you to, and then once you introduce the real dorkdom, and we're off.
Yeah. Ghosts we can do.
Ghosts. So what's a book you remember?
Oh God, see, I've read so many since I was a child, and they're always compilations of different books and different stories. I just I pick up my information from all over the place.
Sure. It's, but do you look specifically at London ghosts?
Nope.
No?
Anywhere where there's a good story.
A good ghost.
Yeah.
What's another town that had a good ghost?
I mean, apparently the movie Entity. Do you remember the movie The Entity? Mm-mm. Where the girl it was a woman and she had 2 kids, whatever, and she was being raped by a ghost. And I remember one scene.
What?
Yeah, I remember one scene where it was touching her body. Don't you remember that movie, The Entity? And the
First of all, that is a movie I will never see on purpose.
And her skin was being massive. What?
Wait,
no?
So I thought ghosts were incorporeal and they could not touch you.
Oh no, this one was attacking her. And
this is a ghost with a heart on. This is a ghost who's on board.
It used to throw her across the room, and it threw her kids across the room, and it attacked her, and it attacked priests. And this was based on a true story. The movie Entity. Look it up. It was based on a true story.
Safe space. The Dork Forest is a safe space, so I will reserve judgment. But I have this to say. I've heard 2 things, cause I remember, what was the movie? Oh, Ghost.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, that
that one. I've seen that, and I've seen The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, which is a Don Knotts movie from the early 70s. Okay. Anyway, but Ghost was the one where he was being taught how to move things on the subway in New York.
Yes.
And so there is you can affect. So the movie The Entity, was anyone famous in it, or was it just a classic?
It's a classic. It came out around the time of The Exorcist and all of that.
Oh, and, early 70s.
And The Exorcist was kind of based on not one story, but a compilation of different stories of different events that happened.
Well, and I stand by the fact that my brother Scott came back from that movie saying that his, one of the kids that he went to that movie with, she became possessed and had to be exorcised. And I was like, you're 17. I'm not going to believe this because I'm 10. And, but it stuck with me. But but do you like those kind of books and movies too about creepy, religious possessions?
Definitely. Like the Poltergeist movies. Do you remember Poltergeist?
Yeah. That was the last scary movie I saw before Silence of the Lambs.
Do you know how many people who, in conjunction with that movie, died?
No, I don't.
Lots.
Were there for reals?
The little girl died.
Wait, was she 70? How old is she when she's dying?
No, she died not
when she was a child, when she was a young woman.
Yeah, not long after the movies were made.
So kind of cursed is the cast and crew of Poltergeist.
The girl who played her older sister, died, was shot to death by her boyfriend.
Wow.
A couple of the directors, if I remember rightly, died in weird circumstances.
Right.
The Indian,
I may have to look this up and link it on the.
Yeah, the guy who played the native Indian in the movie.
Right, because they were on an Indian. They were on an Indian burial ground, weren't they? Died, dead now. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Lots of
right. Steven Spielberg, dead.
No, not dead, not dead.
That's it. You know what it is? Again, money. No, I have no.
I'm telling you, there's a lot. There's something to it, Jackie.
Right. There is. So, but like the spookiest ones the spookiest movies I've ever seen, because I am drawn to them. I kind of like the Da Vinci Code. I read the Da Vinci Code.
So did I.
And I was like, this is the cheesiest thing in the world. I am on board, people. And, so.
But that's not that wasn't that scary, creepy.
No, that was more, conspiracy.
Yeah.
It was all that conspiracy nonsense.
Yeah.
But I love, like, the Omen.
Oh my God. Don't get me started on the Omen. Those are my favorite movies of all time. I bought the soundtrack and I played it. And
the soundtrack?
Yeah, there's a soundtrack. And I played it and my brother walked into my house and he shit his pants? He shit his
Fucking
pants.
A. Yeah. Swear it up.
And he's 35.
And he's 35 and he was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, because that music was creepy as hell.
That movie is creepy.
A lot of people died in the making of that movie too. Oh, no, there's a documentary about it. Go look it up, Jackie.
Oh, I will. Do you remember the name of it, or do I have to link it?
Do you remember the second Omen? Was it the second
Omen
one?
2.
There was one. Where was the one where the guy was decapitated by a pane of glass?
That was the first one, I think. Because I never saw the second one on purpose. Because they're already scary.
I've seen all of them.
Did you see all of them?
As you got to adulthood, it got boring though. The first 3 were the best.
The first 3 were
the best.
What was the twist? Was there always a new child that had been possessed by the devil?
It was the same child. It followed him as he grew up. He was the son of the devil. He had the 999 number in his scalp. So it showed him as a baby. When he had the Satan's disciples all around him and killing anybody who tried to get in his way.
Sure.
That's why the guy got decapitated with the pane of glass, because he was going to find the truth. Then it showed him as a teenager when he first discovered that he was the spawn of the devil.
Oh, when he didn't, because previously he was like, well, I just want to do bad things and bad things happen.
He didn't want to do bad things. When he was a little kid, he didn't know. He was just, no, I'm just doing what I do. And everybody around him, his disciples were killing and dying and stuff. Then he got to teenage years and discovered that he was the son of the devil and fought against it for a while.
Okay.
And then embraced his powers.
Embraced his powers in the third one?
Yes.
All right, there we go. A nice
brilliant.
trilogy. A nice trilogy.
Ah, man, it was awesome.
Did you ever read a book called Good Omens or Good Omen? I can never remember. It is about the Antichrist, and it is about Gabriel and Lucifer. Gabriel of the sword, right?
Yep.
And Lucifer. It wasn't Lucifer. It was the serpent.
Okay.
But it was written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
Okay.
And so
Terry Pratchett.
I know it.
Okay.
You know Terry Pratchett?
Yeah.
He is a silly, silly man.
Yeah.
Do you know what Neil Gaiman does? He puts a lid on it. Neil Gaiman does some excellent cat herding with the Terry Pratchett silliness.
Okay.
And sort of really makes it smart and funny.
Okay.
Because Terry Pratchett, very silly and has a great imagination.
Right.
Neil Gaiman has a great imagination and not very silly, like more smart funny than.
Okay.
So the Good Omen is an amazing story about the Antichrist is born in London, but there's an accidental switch of babies. So the baby that was supposed to be the Antichrist was supposed to be the son of a congressman here in the United States, and he ends up being raised in like a cothold in Sussex by like a family of bakers or some bullshit.
Brilliant.
It's hilarious,
Oh,
and it's just about this kid who grows up and how the Gabriel and the serpent, they have more in common with each other than with heaven and hell, and they don't want the apocalypse to come because they're like, no, I've just got, my sink to work. It's a very funny book, and I will link it in the
check that out.
But it's not scary at all. It's a little tense in the end.
But not scary. Not like Omen scary. Not,
It isn't. How can you, those are easier for me to watch only because they're usually not gory,
Those ones are pretty cool. Don't you remember the guy that got cut in half in the elevator?
Yeah, you're right. I don't like them either. Anyway, but because I don't like I couldn't watch the original Halloween. I accidentally saw. Do you like those kind of ones?
Oh, is that the guy with the mask chasing people?
Yeah, slashery kind of.
No, I don't like those. Those are stupid.
Oh, really?
I find those stupid because it's a guy with a silly mask on walking after everybody. How do you get caught by a guy walking? That's rubbish.
Well, people aren't fit.
Yeah,
people.
Obviously not. You're running away from a guy walking, and he still finds you and kills you.
Right.
Horribly.
Right. Maybe he's implacable. Maybe he's just a pad. And then all of a sudden you have to sleep one day. And then he's there. Spooky. Nothing there? Nothing there for you?
Never got the chases.
So it's more.
Nightmare on Elm Street I quite liked.
Oh, yeah?
Wasn't that Johnny Depp's first movie?
I have no idea.
Nightmare
I never saw Nightmare on Elm Street.
He was the one that got swallowed up by the bed, and then all the blood spewed out of the bed. You don't remember that?
No, but I've seen it being mocked in a sketch on Saturday Night Live, I think.
That was Johnny Depp that got eaten by the bed. That was his first movie. I am a dork. I've just realised.
Oh, yeah. There's no not. There's no not being a dork, quite honestly. We all have some sort of too much information about something. It turns out I had too much information about Barbara Bosson. I don't know if you're
Who
from.
is that?
Yeah, nobody knows. She was actually married to Stephen Bochco, who did Hill Street Blues.
Oh, wow.
And she
okay.
played the ex-wife of the captain on Hill Street Blues.
I remember the captain, but not the ex-wife.
Well, it was recurring. And so we were watching The Last Starfighter a couple of weeks ago, and she plays the kid's mom. Okay. And so she's standing in this group of actors, and I'm like, is that Barbara Bosson? And everyone in this room was like, why do you know that? But you don't know, anything. Who anyone is. I didn't know Snooki or whatever, the Honey Boo Boo or.
Why should we know Snooki and Honey Boo Boo?
Well, because I don't do reality TV either. But have you? I've done Top Chef.
Partaken, I'm not going to lie.
Right. Did you get sucked in a little bit?
I get sucked in. But some of them I will not watch on principle. I will not watch the Kardashians.
Oh, right.
I will not.
Well, what do you think people are drawn to with the Kardashian program? Is it just bad life choices being filmed alive?
It's television.
Right. It's the moving pictures, but there's
all
other.
we have right now.
Right. Some kid was telling me over the weekend in Reno that, young Henry was telling me that he's reading a book about it's a dystopian future where they take away all entertainment. and I was like, what government would do that? That's the only thing that's stopping the revolution, right? You can't take away, movies and TVs and books because that's the only thing soothing the savage beast that will line up the bankers against the wall and have us gun them down.
Exactly. They're keeping us hypnotized.
We're hypnotized.
With large breasts.
Right.
And asses bouncing around and
it is memorizing. I saw a woman with very large breasts walking in an entirely yellow outfit yesterday.
Another day in LA.
And another day in LA. And I was like, she's very fit. She seems to have gone with a brightly colored outfit. Good for her. And those breasts are so big. But someone pointed out that you could tell if they were fake boobs if people don't have arm fat. If they don't have arm fat, then they're fake boobs because people with really large boobs have heavier arms, I guess.
Really?
Yep, there's a fun fact.
Wow, I'm going to start looking at arm fat. I never women from now on. That's amazing.
I love a parade. The parade of big-titted, large-armed women.
I'm going to check that out.
Now, well, it's a new reason to look at boobs, I guess.
Wow.
People are fascinated by boobs, and, they're all right. I don't mind a boob. Whatever.
I'm going to work this out. I want to see if this is for real.
Do you live here in the Valley, or do you live over in Hollywood?
I live in Hollywood, right on Hollywood Boulevard.
What?
Right near the 101, yeah.
Wow, you know how to party.
Well,
do you live kitty corner from the 101 cafe? The Last Chance of the 101, that Best Western? That's on Franklin. I'm sorry.
Oh, is it? Well, then I live nearby.
Right, there's a very nice little diner.
Wilton.
Oh, Hollywood and Wilton. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on Wilton. Right on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard.
All right, nobody needs to know.
Yeah.
Leave Gina Yashere alone.
Leave me alone. But I'm in an apartment building and there's lots.
But follow her on Twitter. And go to her Facebook, which is Facebook/Gina is funny.
Yes.
And of course, GinaYashere.com. Are you working, in December? You do the road much?
Yes, I try and do as much as I possibly can. It's difficult getting booked as a female comic out here when nobody knows you.
Right.
If you're,
but you got internet. You got, hey, watch me tell a joke kind of thing. Don't you have?
Yeah,
vids?
I've got all of that, but
nothing. You know what?
Bits and pieces. At the moment, I'm on the road with Cat Williams.
Okay.
I'm touring with Cat.
That is
a crazy ride.
Isn't he an energetic, wiggly, shouty man?
Yeah,
black man, but
hilarious
and huger than hell. Like people are on fucking board, right?
8,000 people are turning up a night to watch.
Wow.
Yeah, we're playing.
Do you have
arenas.
merch?
I haven't.
You need to get some merch.
No, I have got merch. No, I've got merch, but I didn't bring it because Cat is.
Is he a merch machine?
No, but he's kind of unpredictable. So I was like, I don't know whether I could bring my merch or not. And he'll go, what?
Right.
How much money am I paying you? And now you want to make an extra $10 selling DVDs, motherfucker? Because that's how he goes on.
Okay.
So I didn't bring my merch, but I'm going to find out if I can.
Right, because you should.
Yeah.
Kathleen Madigan, because the thing is
one of my favorite comedians ever.
Kathleen Madigan's she did an episode, an early of the pre-recorded Dork Forests, right when I started pre-recording, after I left the conference call. Not goodness, but she talked about the Kennedys with Laurie Kilmartin. Oh. It was the two of them because they're both crazy Irish
really?
Catholics.
They're into the whole Kennedy.
And they would not, and I tried to get them to talk about stand-up comedy, and they were like, you said we could talk about Kennedys.
Did they really lobotomize one of their own children?
That was the thing that I found out, is that I did not know that Rosemary Kennedy, and Kathleen Madigan pulls out a picture on her phone and shows me Rosemary Kennedy. I was like, yeah, that kid's not, that's a perfectly normal looking woman. And that's what Kathleen Madigan said, is that Rosemary Kennedy just didn't want to be a Kennedy, and her dad freaked out and got her a lobotomy.
But you know that, speaking of lobotomies,
Mm-hmm,
this leads to the history of American psychiatry. You know that there was a doctor in the 1960s, I believe. He used to drive around in a VW van, and he called it the Lobotomizer.
What was that man's name?
And he used to lobotomize people. People used to just come out with their not very normal family members and go, you're a psychiatrist, you're a doctor. And he used to lobotomize them by sticking a screwdriver through their eye sockets into their brain. That is the history of psychiatry in America.
You know what I would like? I would like a name for that. I'm going to need a source on that particular tale. Who is that guy?
Oh God!
Any idea?
I might have it in my phone.
I'm going to part ways on screwdriver into the eye socket.
No, that's a fact. I looked it up after I left. It's all public record.
We will be looking it up after this ends.
Public record.
Public record.
Yeah.
Of the
lobotomizer. I'll look it up.
Miser.
I'll look it because I wrote it down because
I have the internet right over there. It's going to be exciting. We're going to check it out.
Yep.
It's funny because Todd Mason probably yelling at it. Well, what she means is because Todd Mason, he's my number one commenter on the Libsyn page, and he'll go through and he'll sort of live comment on the show, and he'll be like, "I think I know what she's talking about," and then he'll find that thing, and it's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh! In fact, there's a museum in Los Angeles. Well, it's not really a museum because it's not old stuff, but there is. I think it's called the Museum of Psychiatry. I stumbled across it by accident, and it shows you.
That's because you live on Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah. Is it anywhere near Ripley's museum?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a real one. And you know what? This is the
so
funny
is
thing.
Ripley's.
It shows you all the movies and
sure.
and the history of psychiatry in America. And it's all very well documented, pictures, movies, all that. And that's where I first found out about the Lobotomizer. Turns out that this museum, or I think it's
got to be a museum.
It's owned by the Scientologists.
Oh, because
you know they are very anti-psych. I found that out later. I mean, all the history is correct because I went and looked it all up and checked the facts.
But there's a bit of a spin on it.
But
and they've gathered it all in one room to say this is talking things out with an e-meter is the way to go. It's so weird that the Scientologists are against psychiatry because that's all they want to do is talk about your past and really sort of figure out how you have to get over stuff and get through stuff and stop being whatever you are.
A lot of the psychiatry now, all they do is give you lots of drugs.
Oh yeah, they are. There's a lot of that happening.
Like,
did you ever watch Firefly?
No, what's Firefly?
Firefly is a Joss Whedon short-lived TV show. There are only 14 episodes, and I recommend them to everyone I meet. Firefly. It's essentially it's a space western, and
space western.
Yeah, awesome. It's essentially if Han Solo were a smuggler. I am a dork, and but there are these reavers. There's these crazy killing crazy people that they're like, are they people or are they not people? Spoiler alert. There's actually no spoiling Firefly. Cause I can watch it 1,000 times over and over and over again.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's, it's good times. And then Netflix streaming as well.
Don't you just love Netflix?
I do.
I don't even have cable. I cancelled my cable.
So did I.
I just have Netflix.
What are you watching on the Netflix?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I've just watched the entire 5 seasons up to date of,
You're caught up?
Sons of Anarchy.
Oh
my God. Breaking Bad. Oh my God. Have you watched Breaking Bad?
No. See, Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, and Mad Men.
I haven't watched Mad Men yet. I might get onto that next.
Yeah. It's seriously, and I've said it 1,000 times, and so Rangers of the Dark Forest are like, yeah. It's documenting bad life decisions. Yes. And I already know people that are making bad life decisions. I can't possibly, cause things aren't going to get better. I watched the first 2.5 seasons of Breaking Bad.
Right.
And amazing. When he got the girlfriend, I was like, oh, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
His life is going to get better. And then I realized it was 2.5 seasons in.
Yep.
And I was like, nothing ever gets better in 2.5 seasons. Maybe 5. Maybe.
But it's a brilliant show.
It's very well done. Doesn't mean that it isn't well done and that people shouldn't watch it and thoroughly enjoy it.
But you don't like stuff about people making bad decisions.
Right. And I have a hard time with tension. Like I was watching, it's called drama, Jackie.
Yeah, it's drama. You're supposed to have tension. There's no tension in drama.
Raise
it's not
the
drama.
stakes. Raise the stakes. That's what they were doing when they were writing the story of Lot. No, I think Job. I'm thinking Job. What's the one? Oh, last night I just watched the last episode of season 2 that's available of Sherlock. I don't know if you watched the new Sherlock. It's a BBC.
Oh, you know what? I've never watched it.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, not watched it.
I believe. There's only 3 episodes per season. Each episode is a little over an hour.
Wow. Okay.
So they're sort of like mini movies. Okay. And they're awesome. They're hilarious and
Sherlock.
Twisty as all hell. And because they're mysteries. And he's a dick. And it's very, very funny. Sherlock. So there's only 6 episodes in total.
Okay.
And, the good thing is Andy, my husband, is when we watch anything on television, he knows that I have to take a lap. I gotta get up. I gotta take a lap, gotta walk off some of the tension that I'm watching on the television. We went and saw Cloud Atlas. I had to take a lap. The movie in the theater.
Have you seen that? It looks like 27 different movies in one.
It is, and it's excellent.
Really?
It is unapologetically, we're going to dress up in costumes and we're going to talk about the big issues, man. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about freedom.
And I was like, Jesus, how many films is this?
It's 6. It's 6 little films. And you know what I love? I love the enthusiasm. It's like watching really good mime. It doesn't make any sense.
Is there a really good mime?
There is really good mime.
Actually, I did see the Blue Man Group in Vegas and they're amazing.
Was that great?
Oh, they're amazing.
Were they bendy too?
I was giggling out like a child. It was years ago and I never forgot that show.
Right. Years ago, I saw a really good mime. It was Japanese. It was a Japanese duo in Australia. I saw him in Melbourne.
Oh.
And, but the Blue Man Group, you know, Fred Armisen used to be in the Blue Man Group.
Okay, who's Fred Armisen?
He's on Saturday Night Live. He plays Obama.
Oh, he was in the Blue Man Group?
In Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're brilliant.
He's also Portlandia.
Oh, okay.
Fred Armisen. He's the guy and he's the main guy at Portlandia. Okay. So he does stand up. And, is a very funny man. But, yeah, it's so, we have completely talked about television now.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't watch a lot of TV. I just find shows that I like and then
just watch them all
the way through. And I love it. I don't want to be waiting every week for the next episode. I want it and I want it now. And so.
Sons of Anarchy is the motorcycle one, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I've watched we're on the 5th season now, and I've just realised yesterday that I've caught up with regular TV, and I'm really annoyed at myself.
And now there's a hole inside of you, and it's Sons of Anarchy shaped.
I have to wait.
Or you have to find a new show.
Yeah.
You could find a new show. There's, what do you like? Do you like Fringe? Do you ever see a terrible British TV show called Prime Evil?
I heard of it. I never watched it.
Prime Evil is essentially a Scooby-Doo group of folk that are stopping dinosaurs coming on all over the UK, all over. And quite honestly, it's fantastic.
Oh, I think I watched one episode once, and I went, "This is stupid."
Oh yeah,
and then
you were correct. And I watched. I'm on season 2.
Yeah, no, not me. What do I love? I just.
Do you watch the Ghost Hunter TV shows? No.
Those look stupid. I don't like all that. Oh my God, I can hit. No, I don't like those.
Right, because it's all tension. Yeah. It's all them trying to figure out.
I just find them stupid. I just like, oh, that's just ridiculous.
Oh, but the books aren't.
Yeah, but it's different. The reality show with cameras, like a ghost is going to, turn up and go, "Hey, can I get a show?" I don't believe it.
I want that to happen. I want a ghost to show up and say,
a ghost.
Have you talked to my agent? Please talk to my agent. And, no, I'm not actually talking directly to people at this time. I have people that talk to people. So in December, are you going to go on the road with Kat? Or, are you in town?
I'm already on the road with him.
Oh, it's happening right now.
It's happening. I've already done 5 dates.
Oh, you've done 5 dates and then there's more dates. Where are you going to be?
I'm going to Sacramento on Friday.
Okay.
Then I think the week after that we're in New Orleans. And then we're in Houston. It's all on my website.
And they're all one-nighters, right? Because he's doing theaters and stadiums.
Some of them are one, some of them are 2 nights. Like New Orleans.
So you're not going to get to see New Orleans.
No, but I've been there once before for a day.
Okay. So did you get to wander around a little bit?
Yes, and I loved it.
Because I've never been, and I hear, I want to see Treme. I want to see that, the marching band TV show. Yeah, I love a TV show about a marching band. I'm on board. Do you play an instrument? Nothing.
I played the recorder when I was 8. I taught myself how to play it.
Well, that's because it's a simple instrument, but you should get back to it. It's good stuff. I like a recorder.
You don't see them in bands.
I have one.
Maroon 5 does not have a recorder.
Well.
See, they're not cool.
They aren't cool. But the ukulele has come back. People are on board with the ukulele.
And what's the difference? They're the
Between
same.
A recorder and a ukulele? I say...
They're both uncool.
It's the bearded youth movement. That's just all you need is... if you can get some bearded youth to start playing the recorder, it could all come back.
Yeah, I can't play any instruments.
No? Okay. No. What about... I know. Do you ever jump out of planes? Do you ever do any physical stuff?
Oh, yes. I used to be a bit of a daredevil in my 20s when I was young and dumb. I've done a parachute jump. I've done a bungee jump twice in a day.
What?
Because I'm an idiot.
Wow, twice in a day. That's... Were you sober?
I was completely sober. I did it once, and then my friend wanted to do it, and I was like, I'll do it again with you. And it was more terrifying the second time round because I knew what I was going to do. It was ridiculous.
Where did you jump off would you jump off a bridge?
No, it was like one of
these
massive crane thing. Yeah.
Where?
I did it in America, actually, in Florida, when I used to come over here on vacation when I was younger.
In your 20s, you vacationed in the United States in Florida.
Yeah.
My condolences. It's not the parts of Florida I genuinely like, but...
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, it's America. And
it's
then we
moist.
Came to Florida, and I got, after we booked 3 weeks in Florida, and then it was a week in New York.
Okay.
We lasted 10 days in Florida, and we were like, I'm bored, we're going to go. And we went to New York early.
Right. Were you in Miami? Where were you in
We were in
Florida?
Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. Miami adjacent. An hour
adjacent.
and a half. But it's, unless you're a true beach person, Florida isn't. The only other reason I want to go to, Florida is because that's where Harry Potter land is. But I gotta go to Orlando for that. But, So you, in Fort Lauderdale, you jumped off a crane twice, bungee jumping. Mm-hmm. And where did you parachute?
Las Vegas, over the desert.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Your 20s were spent really looking for some action.
Yep. Yep. I jumped out of the plane.
All right. Well,
I was smart though. I did a tandem jump. I was
going to ask you, was it tandem or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured if anything went wrong, I'll be taking somebody with me.
Exactly. It's it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation that they don't know about.
I was searching. I mean, my mother was very overprotective of me as a child, so we weren't allowed to do anything, go anywhere, go on school trips. So as soon as I got old enough to get a job and get my own money and do what I wanted to do.
Right.
I went absolutely crazy.
Right.
So I rode motorbikes. I jumped out of planes.
Do you know how to ride a motorcycle?
I do.
Can you drive a motorcycle on the left side of the road because you're British?
Yes.
So you can work the throttle with your left hand. Do you think you could do a right-handed one?
Is there a right-handed one?
Yeah.
The same way round?
No.
No, seriously, I've not ridden a motorbike in America.
Yeah, if you ride a motorbike here in the United States, it's a right-handed throttle. Because because the sides changed.
It's a right-handed throttle in England.
Oh, is it a right-handed throttle in England?
Yeah, but I had to think about it. I was like, nope, it's right-handed throttle in England as well.
That's interesting. That means that Fonzie was wrong in that episode of The Happy Days, where he, cause a guy had a British-made, bike, and he said there was a left-handed throttle. So.
Yeah, that's not true.
Not true.
That's not true. It was a right-handed throttle.
Busted, Henry Winkler. Not that he wrote that
But some of the
episode.
Indian motorbikes have got stuff the other way around.
Okay.
But not the throttle, the pedals, if I remember rightly, the other way around.
Okay. Fascinating.
But yes, the throttle is the same, because I had to think about it. I was like, no, I remember I used to gas with the right hand, because I'd be gassing and braking at the same time sometimes.
Right.
It's the same.
Couldn't you do a wheelie? Could you do a wheelie at the time?
I actually went to wheelie school.
What? That's the best idea ever. What
Wheelie
kind of
school.
bike was it?
Because my first bike, because I'm a very, what's the word? Impulsive person.
Yes.
So I actually.
Why'd you have to search for that word? Go.
Impulsive. And basically, my agent at the time in England gave me a lift home on the back of his motorbike. And I was like, I like this. And went out and bought the biggest bike I could find the next day. Bearing in mind, I'd never even ridden a bicycle.
Wow.
So I bought a 650cc motorcycle the next day.
Without a motorcycle license.
Without a license.
All right.
And then, I was like, I better learn how to ride this.
Hey, Rockefeller.
So it was in the garage, and I went and did like a 2-week, one of those.
Oh, right, a school.
Intensive courses to learn how to ride a bike. And they were like, great, now you've got your provisional bike license, so you can ride up to 125cc. I was like, yeah. And then I went home and took my 650 out of the garage.
Yeah.
And proceeded to ride that around without a license for a few months.
Wow.
Until I actually went and got my test and passed the test, and that was actually legal to ride the bike.
Yeah.
So that was my first bike.
Okay.
And then so the last bike I had, did you ever see the film Salt with Angelina Jolie?
No.
Well, if anybody's seen that film,
was it an action movie?
Yeah, she was like a Russian sleeper agent and she didn't know it.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Well, do you remember the escape scene where she jumps on a motorbike and she's riding through the traffic? Mm-hmm. That was my bike.
You had that same bike?
That was my last bike. That was an 1100 Triumph Speed Triple. Beautiful bike.
Wow.
And it was a beast.
Even those words sound exciting.
Yeah, that was a British motorbike. So that was the last bike I had. So I'd go out for rides with my friends, and they're mainly boys, and they're crazy. That's why guys die a lot on motorbikes, because they ride above their ability, because they're showing off.
Sure.
And they'd be doing wheelies on the freeway and stuff, which is ridiculous, because that's how you die. And I always wanted to do a wheelie, but I was not going to do it I'm sensible.
Right.
I like speed. I ride very fast.
Right.
But I make sure there's no cars around and it's a wide open road and it's not wet and I'm sensible.
Right.
So I wanted to learn how to do a wheelie. And there are, wheelie schools. Basically, a stuntman.
Okay.
Rents out, an abandoned airfield.
Okay.
So you've got an old, runway for little planes that take off and land in the country. And he hires out this airfield and he sets up his own wheelie school. So you go online and you pay what it is, a couple of $100 for the day, and we all ride up there with our bikes and you wheelie to your heart's content. He teaches you how to do it and boo. And you don't even have to do it on your own bike. So if you dump it, it doesn't matter. It's not your bike.
He's got loaner bikes?
He's got stunt bikes for you to ride.
Oh,
so
okay.
you park your own bike up and you wheelie. I've got a video of me wheeling and a photograph of me.
Is that on your YouTube page?
I haven't got it on my YouTube page. I need to get that video.
Upload that. Yeah, that is awesome. So it's a 1-day class where they're like, coming. It's sort of like, you know what there is outside of Reno? Somebody told me there's a trampoline farm where, it's just trampoline.
What do they grow trampolines? Trampoline farm.
It's real nice. Except the weird thing, it's just a field full of trampolines that some guy just put out there. And then he charges like $5 and you can bounce around until someone gets hurt. And because the thing is it's a bunch of trampolines next to each other. It's not just one big trampoline. Yeah, because there's metal in between each of the, and so you wipe out and you're like clonk. And but, $5 to go bounce in the trampoline farm.
That's hilarious. I like the idea of a trampoline farm.
I was kind of intrigued.
Well, that's it. I wanted to learn how to do a wheelie and get it out of my system.
That's perfect.
And I did it, and that was it. Never needed to do it again.
Right. And so when you jumped out of an airplane, even tandem, would you have done it if you wouldn't have been tandem? Like, could you think that you would have had the guts to go, all right, I'm doing this?
No. Because I know that I'd fuck up and pull the wrong string or some shit.
And just die.
Yeah. Did you ever see the video of the guy who jumped out of a plane and forgot to put his parachute on?
No, that sounds like
No, this was a guy who'd done many, many jumps.
Oh.
And I think there's a video of it, or there's a video audio of it.
That's called a snuff film. There's no way that that's a video of that.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
he used to video himself, and he jumped out of the plane and didn't have his parachute on.
It sounds very, I wish to go to Snopes. And I wish to
go to Snopes, you'll find all this. In fact, I've also seen a video of a stuntman. Remember those stunt guys who used to hang off planes?
Yeah.
There was a stunt guy who used to hang off a plane, and there was a video of him hanging off, and then he realized that one chain that was supposed to be holding on was missing, and he fell off.
You know, I used to work at a closed captioning company as my day job when I first moved to Los Angeles. And there was this woman, Tamara Boyd, and she would caption things. And we had the contract to caption all of those when animals attack, when bad things happen to stupid people or whatever, right? And one day I was because my job was to digitize. I would take things on 3/4-inch tape and make them into digital files so that they could be captioned. So she comes in and she's like, I just realized that all of these, when things happen, these bad things happen videos, if they don't have an epilogue, if they don't tell you where the person is, it means that they died. And so the last 3 months I've been captioning snuff films. I gotta go get a soda. I'm gonna go take a lap. And I was like, fair enough, man. It was just so weird that they show that stuff and they don't tell you that, well, this one, guy actually died on this one, but we're not going to point that out. But this guy, he lived. His, he got hit in the crotch, but he's better now. And
I've seen a few of them, like the guy who does the tightrope walking.
Yeah.
There was one who broke a record recently. His dad died doing the same trick, and they had it on film.
Wow.
Where he tried to tightrope across 2 buildings, and he fell. It was like, ooh.
Did you see that documentary about the French tightrope guy? There's a documentary about a French tightrope guy, and the awesome thing about it, from a point of view of a Jackie Kashian type of television watcher, is that in the beginning of the movie, we get to meet him as an old man, which means guess who lived?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you didn't want tension. Well, there you go.
I didn't. It was perfect. I was like, yes, this guy lives. And then they have video of him walking between the Twin Towers in New York. On a rope, and the tension is when's he going to get arrested for sending a guy up with some rope and then off to the other. It was I can't remember. I'll put it in the notes, but it was a great documentary about this French tightrope walker, and but I love that Daredevil stuff. I always think it would be great if I were to be kidnapped and taught how to use my powers for good. And then, but I never, I've only fired a gun once. We went to the gun range.
So I've never fired a gun.
Well, there's a gun range about a half a block from here because I live in Van Nuys. And, but that was very funny because Andy took me there on my birthday. We went horseback riding and then we grilled some meat and then we went to the gun range. It was a Western, themed,
Yeah, we were horseback riding, we grilled some meat, then we killed some Indians, and then...
No, we shot, shapes of people, but, there were some other kids there. There were some young guys who were at the gun range, who were holding it gangster style. They were with the sideways.
The whole sideways thing.
And you could either get the silhouette of a man, right, to shoot at the gun range, or you can get a stuffed animal. And they were shooting the stuffed animal. And the thing is The thing about the gun range in life is that everyone's very, very polite at the gun range because the people who work at the gun range know how to shoot guns.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Everyone's gonna be polite.
Right. But I remember when I went, I was like, they give you these earphones, right? To protect you from the noise. And there was a bucket of them, like a giant barrel of them. And I go over and I'm like, have these been sanitized? And the guy just looks at me and he's like, no, they haven't. It's not like the bowling alley where you spray the shoes or anything. So you're putting on like sweaty earmuffs of other people.
Gross.
Bring your own earmuffs.
I'd rather be deaf.
Right. And then it was super loud. So, but I wasn't very good at it. I don't, I mean,
the shooting thing has never appealed.
I like a shooting video game.
Yes.
So that's why he took me to the gun
real
range.
thing.
Yeah.
And you weren't.
I was okay with it. I don't need to. It was loud. It was. I'm 107. I don't want to. I've never enjoyed loud.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I don't club or see live music.
No, see, I'm at that point where I can't be bothered.
Right. How about your 20s? Were they full of you clubbing, going home with crazy
20s,
people?
Oh, jeez. But in my 20s, I'd be clubbing and then coming straight from the club and going straight to work in the morning from the club.
Right. Reeking of cigarettes and
just
some sort of.
Been dancing all night and then turn up at work. Hey! But I used to be an engineer, so it didn't matter.
Wait, it said on your Wikipedia page you were a lift operator.
Not operator. Does it say operator? I'm going to have to go back and change that.
So the lift technician?
I used to build and repair elevators. I worked for Otis.
Did you work for Otis?
I did.
Is there an Otis? Is there an actual man named Otis?
The guy who invented the elevator, or the motor-driven elevator, was a guy called Elijah Otis.
Oh. There's a fun fact
that's
about
who
elevators.
The company was named after.
And you worked for Otis in London?
Yes. The biggest elevator, was the biggest elevator company in the world. I hear it's not doing so well now, but at the time it was.
And so you helped build them? Like in a factory situation?
No,
or
on the building site.
You installed.
Here's a little fact you might like.
Please.
So, the Twin Towers, New York.
Right.
The two smaller towers in New York, the two next to it. Remember, you had the 210 stories, and you had the two little identical smaller towers next to it. Right. Our tallest building in Europe at the time, not anymore, but it was, is a building called Canary Wharf in London.
Okay.
That was, up until a year ago, our tallest building in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That building is an exact replica of the two smaller towers of the World Trade Center. It was built by the same company, Olympia in New York. So basically, when we were building it in England, we didn't know how to build skyscrapers.
Okay.
So they brought in a load of American engineers and engineers from all over the world because it was a huge project. Because it wasn't just that, there was a load of buildings all around it. It was basically our World Trade Center.
Right.
And so loads of engineers were brought in from all over the world and lots from America to help us to build it. So we were there from when the building was a hole in the ground. I did my apprenticeship on this site.
Oh.
So when the building was a hole in the ground, as the building goes up, you build up the elevator shaft.
Okay.
With the building as the building goes up. And then we build the elevator on site. So that's what I used to do. And I actually rode on top of the elevators at the World Trade Center in New York. Because obviously
that's a diehard moment.
I know. I'd made friends with all the engineers.
Right.
Because who took me under their wing. I'm still friends with one of them now.
Right.
And when I came to New York on my first vacation, I hooked up with some of the engineers. And at the time, they were still maintaining the elevators at the World Trade Center. Mm-hmm. And they took me there and I got on top of those elevators.
Wow.
And they traveled at 36 miles per hour. Imagine, 36 miles an hour up and down.
Okay, that sounds terrifying, but kind of exciting.
It is.
Did you have to hold on?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, what were you doing? You weren't clipped on, were you? You had to you were loose.
Yeah, you just stand on top and you hold the rope.
Wow. And then hope they don't go all the way up to the top and squish you like a...
Well, what happens on the huge skyscrapers, usually there's a nice bit of space between the top floor and the ceiling.
Good choice.
But engineers have been crushed before.
Really?
Because in smaller buildings, the space not so much. So you have to... Basically, what I tended to do when I used to repair elevators is you have at the top of the elevator, you've got a bar across the top of the elevator. I would duck down below that bar because I know that bar's going to hit the ceiling before I do.
Right.
So I would duck. When I'm on, because obviously when you're repairing an elevator, you have to see how it works in its everyday life. So you have to get on top of it while it's running. So people are getting in and they don't know that you're sitting on top of it, watching how it works and trying to figure out what's wrong.
I love that is obvious to you because that is not obvious to me, but that makes perfect sense.
Well, yeah.
Because how else are you going to know what's acting up?
Exactly.
But why is it still running with people in it if it's acting up?
Because if it's only a small fault, like,
okay.
I don't know, a button not working or something not lighting up and you're trying to work out the wiring and what.
Different floors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it can still be in service.
Right.
And then you have to see what's wrong while it's working so you can see what's misfiring or whatever. So I'd be sitting on top of the elevator and I'd duck down because sometimes if you're standing and it stops and there's not much room between the top of the elevator and the ceiling, you will die. Yeah. I actually almost got decapitated once.
How so?
Because some banks of elevators, there's no dividing walls. They're all in one shaft going up and down. And one day I was bent on top of one elevator and leaning over trying to repair the door. And another elevator came up in the next shaft and I saw it coming and I got my head out of the way just in time.
For it not to get knocked off of your shoulders.
Yes.
Congratulations for you for some quick thinking.
Yeah.
But, so you know, essentially, I think of elevators as a series of pulleys. Am I correct?
One pulley.
There's one pulley
basically
going up and down with the pulley. And then the rest of it's electrical.
Yes.
Is that what's happening?
So mainly what happens, an elevator, most elevators, well, there's two different types of elevators. You got hydraulic elevators.
Done with,
well, yeah, it's basically a hydraulic piston.
Okay.
And the elevator's on top of that. And the piston comes out from the ground and pushes the elevator up.
Okay.
Those are usually for short buildings, 2 or 3 floors.
Okay.
Because you can't have a 50-floor hydraulic piston.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And
so
then
for short buildings, hydraulics.
Hydraulics.
But the majority of the taller buildings is a motor, a humongous motor with a rope or 6 ropes.
6 ropes.
Yeah. An elevator can really be held by 1 rope, but for safety, they add another 5.
Oh, fair enough. Just in case. Because then if one of the ropes breaks, you have some backup.
There's various, because I remember watching the movie Speed.
Well, Speed, I remember Speed.
And it was very accurate, because I used to watch elevator movies where elevators crash down the shaft, and I go, that would not happen, because the safety gears were coming at 33.3, and I'd
But Speed was accurate?
Speed was accurate.
Because that was, I think, the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Was that whole elevator.
Yeah, because he put a bomb on the ropes.
Right.
And he cut the ropes, and then there's also a thing called a safety gear. So basically each elevator at the bottom, we've gone into severe dorkdom now.
Let's do this.
So each elevator has a thing at the bottom called a safety gear. So basically if let's say somebody got on top of the elevator and sliced through all the ropes and it began plummeting down the lift shaft.
Yeah.
Down the shaft.
Yeah.
It has a thing, there's different types of safety gear. There's one called, the safety gear, which is a wheel on a rope. And it works by centrifugal force.
Okay.
So once it starts going too fast,
right,
a switch is knocked and it immediately cuts out the power to the elevator. So all power's cut. Now, if the elevator is still plummeting down the lift shaft, it's got these things at the bottom called safety gears. It's got basically clamps at the bottom of the elevator that will come out and clamp to the sides of the shaft to stop it from moving, like brakes.
Oh, like it'll slow it down at the very least as it goes.
Yeah, they come out the side, they come out the bottom of the elevator.
Screech,
and they clamp to the sides of the elevator shaft to stop it from going.
Okay.
So there's various safety measures in. And if for some reason, like in Speed, he put bombs on the safety gear so nothing will stop it plummeting to the bottom, it's got a great big hydraulic piston at the bottom of the elevator.
Oh, to sort of
to buffer
cushion
the impact.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's how we used to test them. Like once we'd finished building an elevator, we'd test it. We'd drop the elevator down 50 floors all the way down onto the bottom pistons.
Was that fun?
Oh, that was so fun.
That's like, now let's see if this thing works.
It was like, I can imagine the same feeling you get, those old movies where they push those plunger things down and blow up buildings.
Yes.
I love that. Well, it's the same kind of feeling. You would drop an elevator down 50 floors.
Yep.
And watch it crash all the way down to the bottom just to test those pistons to make sure that they can.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's what I used to do.
That's what you, all right. Well, let me tell you something. It's been an hour.
Wow.
And, but here's, did you see Speed 2?
Speed 2 was shit.
It was such shit. Ugh. Do you remember
it was on a bus, wasn't it? No, it wasn't on a bus.
No, the first one was the bus.
Oh, the
second one was, somebody described it as, it was Brian Gannon. You don't know. Nobody does. Anyway, but he's a perfectly nice man. But he said, watching Speed 2 was like watching a man run at you with a knife for an hour and a half. Where you're like, oh my God, he's got a knife. Oh, he's still running at me. Yeah. Oh my God, he's got a knife.
It was absolute rubbish.
All right. GinaYashere.com. Follow her on Twitter. Go to the Facebook link. Watch all the vids. Watch you tell people that the things that they already know from the psychic booth on Jay Leno. So do it. And Cat Williams?
Yes, I'm on tour with Cat Williams, and I've also
all
done
over
my own show
throughout the end of the year.
It's all on my website.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?